As the saying known very well in the sports world goes, everyone loves a comeback. And after months of waiting and some silence, a triumphant return arises in the form of new stakes, new faces, and a brand new series. Live from virtual Kokomo, Indiana, we welcome you to coverage of the WORC Street Stock Tour, presented by Dynamo Deisgns, and their second race of the season from the virtual Kokomo Speedway. We are back and as excited as ever to bring WORC action back to center stage on the KBueno Racing Network, where alongside Keelan Belshaw in the broadcast booth, my name is Kenneth Bueno. Keelan, first of all, we're back. It's been a couple of months since we had some WORC action and even any type of racing on the KBueno Racing Network, but we're back here, this time with a different flavor at hand. We've had you before on dirt races, but dirt street stocks, very heavy, very tanky cars, and the first car you usually use when you want to start your dirt iRacing career, and these guys are going to take him around Kokomo. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah, going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully we see a lot of bumping and banging tonight on the small quarter-mile track of Kokomo. Speedway, it's going to be tight, and it's going to be fun racing tonight. It's a lot different from sprint cars like I'm used to, so these street stocks, you're going to see them bumping all over the place. The top's going to be the line to go to early in the race, and it's going to be a fun one. Got 19 cars here tonight, so I'm looking forward to it.
A solid field and a solid run to the race that we're going to have here in our 75-lap feature from Kokomo, Indiana. But just before we get to the details of what this race and what this season is going to be all about, why don't we take a look closer as to where we are in the virtual world. We go overhead our images provided to us by Google Earth and our KBRN track map. As always, you head down to Kokomo, Indiana. This is where you'll find the Kokomo Speedway, opened back in 1947, and it's a quarter-mile track, 0.40 kilometers around this very small dirt oval. But Keelan, the great things about these short tracks and these very small dirt ovals is that they are very small, but they pack a very large punch.
Yeah, and it's all about managing this racetrack tonight. It's a quarter mile, and track position is going to be everything. It's a quarter-mile racetrack. It's small, and it's fast. You got to get up to the top because that's going to be the fastest way around. And early tonight, the top is going to be preferred, and time will tell because it is a 75-lap feature tonight. So time will tell on where the rest of the racetrack will come in, and if we'll see people going to the bottom of the racetrack making moves down there. But the top will definitely be preferred, and of course 16 gallons of fuel in the car tonight. It's going to make it really heavy early, so it's going to be hard to get to the bottom even if you wanted to. It's going to be all about your starting position in tonight's races.
Yeah, track position going to be very important. And of course, you said races plural, not just race. Of course, with dirt racing, we are going to have multiple little races before our main feature event with 75 laps on the table. We are going to have some heat races. Unfortunately, we do not have 20 cars officially in this session, so we will not have a B main, although usually the B main is 12 laps with admin cautions. We won't have to deal with that tonight at Kokomo, so we're going straight from the heats all the way to, well, maybe the LCQ, and then of course the main feature race, which will have the entire field ready for it all. We had a race to open the season earlier in the campaign. Of course, we're not covering the full schedule here in this WORC Dirt Street Stock Tour presented by Dynamo Deisgns, and it was Jamie Massey, Keelan Belsha, that picked up his very first win of the season by a long shot. Very dominant driver all night long over at the Volusia County Speedway Park, and Jamie Massey is top of the board right now in our qualifying session, so Massey just looking for another win tally to continue on for what could be a solid championship run.
Yeah, Jamie flexing his muscles early in the season, leading 47 of the 54 tallied laps last week at Volusia. Brace and Collins, Josh Patterson, they were up there battling with him. Collins slipped back a little bit later in the race, but Jamie, of course, a lot of speed, and so far today in Kokomo, he was up near the top of the boards in practice, and on pole right now, holding it right now by over 0.3 of a second. So the 896, real fast early in the year.
And you're going to see a lot of names if you watched our WORC Dynamo Deisgns National Series earlier when we started in December, ended in early 2022. There are a lot of names that you will recognize, some that ran very well at the Oval, and of course, our WORC Dynamo Deisgns National Series champion, Josh Patterson, who came across the line second at Homestead Miami Speedway. He is here tonight, although he has not put in a qualifying time, so he may need to start from the rear, depending on where he places in these heat races. Speaking of heat races, we're going to have them ready for you right now with heat number 1 on the tally. 8 laps for each and every heat, and of course only a handful of cars, 1st through 7th, we'll have them here for you. Jamie Massey is the first driver to the grid in the 896. He lines up, of course, the fastest time in qualifying. He will lead us to green in this first heat alongside the 39 of Aiden Kirker in row 1. Or rather, Seth Castle. So this is wrong, actually. Just got this wrong. Seth Castle is second. Ryan Zabot will be third. We'll have Jay Mulder in P4. In the 51, Henry Clapper rounds up the top 5. Pierce Maffin in 6th. Christian Visconti in 7th. We apologize for that. That is the qualifying time order. But Jamie Massey still being the pole sitter, Keelan. That is going to give him some advantage. And leading this heat race, you figure that he may put in the same effort and the same dominance that he did in that first race at Volusia.
Well, obviously that's going to be his goal, and I don't think there's anything that is stopping him from doing that right now. Of course, from what we've seen early in the year. Last week, he did not win a heat race. He didn't qualify as fast as he did, but of course, over 0.3 of a second faster in qualifying here. Seth Castle, his outside, ran a 15.760 to Massey's 15.374. I think the only thing that could be holding Massey back here is the fact that the top lane here historically gets better starts on the green flag here, because usually you have to wait till the green flag, and I would assume that's how it's going to be here. So the top, they usually get rolling faster through 1 and 2, and that's where all the passes are going to be tonight. Massey just going to have to try to get a good jump, get up in front of them, and it's a tacky racetrack right now, so try to get up in front. Track position is going to be your friend.
And of course, these 8-lap heats, Keelan, aren't really going to show the dynamic track changing over the course of the night. In that feature, we'll have that ready for you, and whether the bottom gets dialed in sooner than later. It's Jamie Massey, Seth Castle on the front row. Green flags in the air for the first of our handful of heats tonight in round number 2 of the WORC Dirt Street Stock Tour presented by Dynamo Deisgns. And already it's a good jump by Jamie Massey to lead the field by 0.3 of a second. Side by side for P2. Jay Mulder on the high side of the 7 of Seth Castle.
They were 3 wide there for a second, as there you see Zebo in the 10 car get to the very bottom of the racetrack as Castle and Mulder battle out for second. Mulder bounces off the fence, and he's going to get to the outside, get a nose out in front of Castle. Castle pulls him in the middle. Mulder trying to get there on the top side. Contact as Castle gets up in front of them, slows them both down a little bit, as Jamie Massey led by 0.7 of a second that last time around.
And already Massey putting up a fight there to be the most dominant driver as battle for P2 continues on, and the difference in lanes already apparent here, Keelan. Outside versus inside, Mulder being one of the pioneers up top, but Massey and company electing to wear the track on the bottom. It's going to work on the end of the 51. Massey going to continue in the lead. Jay Mulder to P2. Castle, though, trying to put up a decent fight on the bottom, but can't do it out of turn 4.
Top 3 checked out right now as Pierce Maffitt and Ryan Zabo battle for the 4th position back there, as Maffitt is a little bit, about a second off of him, so not too much of a battle, but you see the 10 car right in the 4th position. If there were 20 cars, he would be the guy outside of the feature at the moment, but will not have to worry about that as Castle falls off of Mulder by about a second. Massey continues the charge up front.
And Massey working that bottom groove, still hugging it down low, has yet to even get close to that outside wall. And maybe this could be the strategy that potentially works here for Massey in the feature as we catch 2 laps to go from the virtual Kokomo Speedway. It's looking like Massey is going to run away with this. Jay Mulder and Seth Castle have seemingly calmed it down just a little bit. It looks like Castle has followed Mulder in his pursuits to go up high, but white flag in the air in heat number 1, and it is looking like all Jamie Massey out of the final 2 corners. Barney the flagman has the checkered. Heat number 1 goes to Jamie Massey.
Jay Mulder in 2nd, Seth Castle in the 3rd position, Ryan Zabo in 4th, Pierce Maffitt 5th, and Henry Clappert rounds out the field in the 1st heat as we get set for your 2nd heat of the evening, where Aiden Kirker and Paul Granada are going to lead them down in row number 1.
So you say, take a look at the first row. Aiden Kirker, Paul Granada, the 39, the 04, the first 2 to lead us to green in this 2nd heat. Brayson Collins, your league owner, he starts inside of row number 2 in P3. He'll have Dylan Cribbs in the 7-11 to his outside. He has yet to load in. We'll see if he does. Dominic Howe, Cameron McCone, the 053 and the 028 are the final ones in this 6-car heat. Again, 8 laps in each and every heat, so very short amount of time. And usually that's how dirt racing is, Keelan. A lot of fast-paced action, and even we have that with the yellows in the main race. We see that once the yellow comes out, it probably takes maybe a lap and a half, maybe 2 laps for the caution to end and the green flag to officially fly. Dirt racing is very fast-paced, and with these 8-lap heats, you don't have a lot of time to make up a lot of ground. Of course, these heats really determine your starting spot for the feature.
Yeah, and these heats, they only last about 2 minutes because of how fast the laps are here, so you have to make up time. You have to make up time fast, and if you want to make passes, you're going to have to get it done really fast, because this is going to determine where you start in tonight's feature. Feature a little bit more extended at 75 laps, but that's still going to be pretty fast when you lay down 14-15 second laps around here, so it's going to go by pretty quickly, and you really got to get on the gun fast. Like maybe in a long asphalt race, you can sit back for the first half of the race, but you can't do that here. You need to get going and get going early.
I was about to say that. I mean, the asphalt side, you can go at least 100 miles and there's still time, but with only 75 laps here at Kokomo, such a short track, you're only going under 20 miles total in that feature race. Green flag in the air in heat number 2. Already a decent jump out of row number 2. Brayson Collins trying to put his name into the ring on the inside of the race leader. 3 wide for the lead as Paul Granada takes the high side to the front.
Still 3 wide, almost 4 wide there as Paul Granada is going to lead the first lap. Brayson Collins and Aiden Kirker battle for second. Dylan Cribbs in the 7-11 to the bottom, trying to make up time down there as Aiden Kirker will get second. Battle continues for third as Brayson Collins works the high side of the racetrack right behind the 39, but Dylan Cribbs going to take the spot. Collins continuing to fight back.
And Cribbs already using the inside line. We see a very big difference between Heat 1 and Heat 2. Most of the field in Heat 1 elected for the very bottom, including your Heat winner, Jamie Massey, but a majority of the field already looking for the high side. Maybe it's worn in enough for their liking. Here comes a crossover by Brayson Collins. Cameron McCone on the outside of this battle for P3 right now, and Cribbs is going to be able to get the momentum off the high side and be able to contend against Collins for the moment. It is still single file, first and second, coming to 4 laps to go, but Aiden Kirker is hot on the heels of the 04.
He's knocking on the door. He wants to take that position back as he's going to go to the bottom here. Kirker to the inside, making a move for the race lead. Side by side off of turn number 4. Granada gets back out ahead. The bottom is going to be a little bit harder to make a pass now. Kirker is going to have to put that car where it doesn't belong, to the outside, if he wants to make a comfortable pass for the lead here as they come to 2 laps to go here in heat number 2. Kirker going to try to run him back down, but it might be too little too late.
And they'll have the view of 2 laps to go. Barney the flagman waiting to display the white. And this time, Aiden Kirker going to look to set a blistering lap on your race leader, Paul Granada. And he is there to give the bumper. Dominic Howe, Brayson Collins in the battle for P5. Right now, looks like Collins seemingly fell back. And he's just trying to pick up the pieces. But white flag in the air. 2 leaders in the outside wall. Paul Granada trying to run away in heat number 2.
A slide job for Kirker. One last-ditch effort in this heat. Not quite going to be enough. Paul Granada wins the second heat of the evening. Aiden Kirker made it interesting, but he will take second. Dylan Cribbs takes third. Cam McCone, and then it's Dominic Howe, and then Brayson Collins rounding out the Heat 2 field. Paul Granada takes the win as we head over to our third and final heat of the evening.
So our final heat takes place with, once again, 6 cars on the grid. It'll be Dale Slides in the 762 on the front row. First one to see the green, first one to jump once that iRacing official pace truck makes its way onto pit road. It'll be Ryan Martin to his outside in that white and black number 9 machine. Ethan Harrison in the 77 will be inside of row number 2 and third. JJ Hill, we talked to him a little bit before we started our broadcast tonight. He races the Budweiser machine in the 54, starting 4th. Logan Hartman will be in the top 5 in the 70 machine. And rounding out the entire field is the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series champion from just a couple of months ago, Josh Patterson in the 02. And already we've seen a very big difference, Keelan, between Heat 1 and Heat 2. Are you going to see more of an even spread depending on line here in this third heat now that the track is worn out, or are we seeing same old from either side?
Well, I really do think the top is going to be the preferred way to go right now. Of course, we saw it, especially in the last heat. Aiden Kirker, he tried to make moves on the bottom, and he just couldn't get them to stick. So I think the top for now, it's going to be the preferred line. But, I mean, don't be surprised if we see some guys going to try and test the waters on the bottom, but I think it's too early. You got to wait till a little bit into the feature for that, as Dale Slides takes the green flag underway in the third heat.
3 rows of cars setting for turn 1. Ryan Martin, and 1 car already around. That is Josh Patterson, turned by Logan Hartman, and already more contact. That's the 77. Ethan Harrison, JJ Hill, a big slam on the back straightaway wall, but of course no caution. We stay green, and Ryan Martin surges to the Heat 3 lead.
Ryan Martin takes the lead away from Dale Slides there after a hectic first lap, to say the least. Dale Slides in second position. Logan Harrison, Josh Patterson rounding out the top 4, but Dale Slides in that 762 trying to make a move as the battle for third now heats up with Harrison and Patterson. Big time slide job, keeps it off the fence, but Hartman gonna cross him back over.
A solid move there by Patterson, but of course, Logan Hartman was there for the answer, and out of turn 4 that time, not going to be able to respond efficiently to Patterson. They will stay side by side, an attempted slide job. They both make contact. They'll stay okay. Contact again between the 2 drivers in third and fourth, and Hartman slides in front of Patterson before Patterson makes the crossover. Once again, a beautiful battle for the podium.
A great move there by Patterson to cross him back over after some door slamming between those two, as he's going to gap himself from Logan Hartman a little bit. Patterson in the third position, up against the top side of the racetrack as the battle for the lead eats up. Move by Dale slides to the bottom.
An attack of the outside wall by Ryan Martin, although he's able to keep it intact in that bottom side. It looks like it's going to be very hard to pass unless you make a slide job like Patterson and Hartman were doing for third. That inside proving to be efficient just a little bit, but a big crash by Dale Slides, I believe, just hit the wall in the wrong place. That left front is completely destroyed, and that's going to hurt Slides' chances of making it to the feature, at least in the front of the field.
Yeah, J.J. Hill just came out of the pits and ran him over. Looked pretty intentional to me. And that's not going to go over well with Bryson Collins as he removed him from the server as Ryan Martin comes off of turn number 4, going to win the third heat of the evening. But my goodness, Dale Slides had a great race going, and now he's going to have, looks like, 4th to show for it. Second. No, they gave him second back. How about that? Great sportsmanship by those other two drivers to let him by.
A solid move by both of them. Understood the assignment there that Dale Slides got into that issue there going into turn 1, and you see the heavy damage on that left front. Of course, the wheel absolutely dismembered there. The tether pretty much being the only thing that's keeping it alive. But now we have reached a portion where we finally have our field and where the drivers are going to start. This is our little warm-up session, so we'll have a couple of drivers end up taking some laps and already some on track already. And you see the field already coming out of what is basically a kind of non-existent pit road, Keelan, but it is still a thing, still an access road to get on and off of the track. But so far, first 3 heats, a lot of drama in that third one, but a lot of great racing in the first 2. What do we expect now for the feature now that we have everybody bunched in together for 75 laps?
It's going to be interesting. We're going to see a lot of bumping and banging. I think we saw the bumping and banging in the first 3 heats, but I think now that you have 18 cars going out there, it's just going to be at a higher level. So it's going to be entertaining. It's going to be fun. And at top, it's going to be really preferred, but I'm really interested to see if the multi-lane action does come into play, because then we could see some passing going on. But the story is all about Jamie Massey right now out front. He's been dominant in his first several little showings out here in the dirt street stock, so we'll be trying to hang on, trying to get another feature win.
Looking to back it up after the first win at Volusia, and he'll be, of course, the first driver in this entire season to go back-to-back. This is only a 6-race schedule, so if you win the first 2 races, you're basically almost halfway there to the season, and that could give you a huge points gap and probably will give you the championship if you can hold it intact. And, of course, you're watching drivers taking their laps in our warm-up session right now, and of course, obviously, this is just to test out the waters, Keelan, to see where the car's handling out with the track wearing out at this portion in time, and the outside line seems to be the place to be, although the outside wall is really where you want to stay out of, and we've seen a lot of drivers, Keelan, already flirt with that outside wall, play with disaster, and get into it multiple times. These cars, these street stocks are very tanky, but obviously, if you hit them enough times, they're going to really damage the race car, and you're going to be in for a wild ride going in for the rest of the race. So these drivers got to be very careful and playing a balance game between running the outside for momentum while also making sure they can keep their car as clean as possible.
I think the little strategy might be sliding in there, maybe bouncing the rear end off the wall. You don't want to ride it necessarily, because that could cause suspension damage and cause you more problems, but I definitely think that you can use the wall and use it to your benefit. That could keep you kind of angled and get you a good corner in. So here you see this is Jamie Massey that we're looking at. He's using the wall to his advantage. And maybe other drivers taking notes to realize the speed he has. So we'll see. But, I mean, you can use it. You just don't want to use it too much and abuse it and abuse your race car. That's the last thing you want.
And also what's dangerous is that in that first heat, Jamie Massey had been riding the bottom, but right now in the warm-up session, he is using the top. So maybe he understood that the track is wearing in that way in favor of that very top lane, close to the outside wall. So we may see Jamie Massey take a step up there, much like we've seen the rest of the field do so in the same manner. Warm-up ending right now in the final 5 seconds, so the timer will tick down to 0, and of course we will have our official run to the green flag for 75 laps. We go just under 20 miles here from the virtual Kokomo Speedway, which is not something we'd expect to say on the KBueno Racing Network, since we're used to a lot of asphalt NASCAR races, and we go 30 kilometers if you are, of course, not using the Imperial metric system. So drivers on the grid right now, we will get to it for the start of the second race of the WORC Dirt Street Stock Tour presented by Dynamo Deisgns. Jamie Massey will be on the front row. He'll be joined alongside by the 04 of Paul Granata on that first row. So the 896-04 going to have a good time seeing the green flag from Barney the Flagman tonight. After lap number 1, Jay Mulder and Aiden Kirker will be, or rather Ryan Martin and Jay Mulder will be third and fourth. Aiden Kirker will round out the top 5. Dale Slides, we saw him finish second in that third heat. Despite the drama, he will start P6. Seth Castle will be on his outside in P7. Or rather, Slides will be on the outside. It'll be Seth Castle, Dylan Cribbs to row number 4 to P8, Ethan Harrison, Ryan Zabot to row number 5. It'll be Cameron McCone, Josh Patterson in 12th, Pierce Maffett 13th, Dominic Howe 14th, Logan Hartman rounding out the top 15, and the final ones in this field will be Henry Clappett and Brayson Collins. JJ Hill, Christian Visconti, I believe, are not going to be able to, like you mentioned, Keelan, JJ being removed from the session in that respective heat. So we'll take a couple of pace laps before we take the green. And it's all about how the field can beat Jamie Massey in this race. Of course, 75 laps is a good amount of time, but Keelan, with the way these laps are so short and these cars are relatively quick, we go 20 minutes if we stay green. That's insane.
Yeah, last week at Volusia Speedway, it was a 23-minute event for 54 laps, so could be very quick here as Jamie Massey appears to be starting on the outside line. So kind of taking my notes from the heat, seeing that as an advantage. We'll see what the 896 can do with Paul Granata off to his inside, coming to the green flag.
So the pace truck makes its way on that little access road in the middle of the virtual Kokomo Speedway. Jamie Massey, Paul Granata, the first two to the green flag for 75 laps from Kokomo. Green flags in the air, and Jamie Massey brings the field to turn 1. We're underway in round 2 with the WORC Dirt Street Stock Tour presented by Dynamo Deisgns.
Jamie Massey coming around to lead the opening lap here from Kokomo. As you see, Aiden Kirker having trouble with his race car, slides up 4 wide there. Around his outside was the 10 of Ryan Zabot, who slides into, I believe, the 5th position. So he made up the ground there. As you see, Dale Slides leading the charge on the bottom of the racetrack, trying to battle it out there, as it's pretty single file up front, but it's very racy back here, 3 wide.
And Slides is all the way at the bottom. Now he trades it for the middle. Dominic Howe this time trying to make a charge on the inside. Howe did not have the greatest of heats, so starting pretty deep into the field. A couple drivers already tagging the outside wall, so some drama around the top 10. They're going to stack up behind Aiden Kirker, but Jamie Massey has pulled away to almost a 2-second lead on Jay Mulder.
Yeah, Massey has dropped to kind of the middle line there in 3 and 4, now going to the top in 1 and 2, as you see out the windshield, rock screen, if you will, of Jay Mulder in the 2nd position. He's feeling all around the racetrack, trying to find out where the speed is right now, trying to keep Paul Granata behind him. Ryan Martin, Dylan Cribbs rounding out the top 5. As Massey is checked out. It's a race for 2nd right now with Mulder and Granata.
And they're stacking up. Martin right there on the tail end of that group trying to catch Paul Granata, and then of course trying to catch up to the 51 of Jay Mulder, and that slam to the outside wall by Granata may be enough for Martin to make a move, although he thinks better of it. Will not take the inside, and really we're seeing the battles develop around the top 5, top 10, and Brayson told us, Keelan, before this race started that we were going to see a lot of battles around this, so we have not been disappointed so far. Here's Aiden Kirker, Ryan Zabot going at it for P6.
Battle for 6th right there. Kirker right on his inside, as they're both relatively pretty close to the wall. Zabot gets around him, and now Seth Castle going to try and make a move on the outside of Kirker, but Kirker doesn't give him enough room to make the move. Castle went to the inside. Kirker goes back on the top, making contact with the 10 of Zabot there. They're all nose to tail right here. It's like bump drafting on the top side of the racetrack.
You saw right there the checker from the 10 of Zabot. It moved Aiden Kirker into the rear bumper of that 10 and then stacked up Castle. And now the driver's even further behind. 9th on back. That's Ethan Harrison in the white and green 77. And how about Dale Slides working back underneath Dominic Howe this time, but not going to be able to find the momentum. He's one of really the only ones, Keelan, working that very bottom groove as they continue to go side by side. Ethan Harrison gets slammed around to the outside wall, and he's got some big damage on the right front. And there's the rest of the field to get away. And another hit there by Pierce Maffett.
Yeah, Harrison was turned around almost 180 on the wall right there. I guess that'd be 90 degrees, but he does end up getting the car straightened out. And these guys are all over each other. This little group right here, there's Castle, Zabot, Dylan Cribbs, all in this little group here. All battling out as you see the inside of the nose of the 10 car, who drops to the inside. making a move on Dylan Cribbs in the 7-11. Zabo to the 5th position.
A patient move there by Zabo, moves him into the top 5, and you look at the 2 on the bottom now, 3 wide. Kirker and right now Dale Slides, who work him all the way to the bottom. They're going to check up and stack Aiden Kirker in a big sandwich there. Going back into turn 1, they're able to keep it clean. That was Seth Castle on the other end of that on the outside, and Kirker falls back to 10th.
Kirker sliding through the field. He started in the 5th position, but is slipping back as the 762 of Dale Slides has got to the bottom of the racetrack, and it's not necessarily not working out for him. He started in the 6th position. He's in 7th, but he was further back than that, so he's staying committed to that bottom, and it's paying him some favors right now.
And in a way, you're kind of getting a trade-off here because, yes, while you do not have the momentum on the outside groove like you see right there, that the rest of the drivers on the outside do, Dylan Cribbs getting around for P6, Slides is able to avoid the checkup on the outside. And we saw a lot of drivers do that already. Aiden Kirker being a part of that group before falling back. When you're in such a long line on the outside, somebody's going to check up, somebody's going to move somewhere, and at some point, you're either going to have a slight spin, you're going to have somebody slow down dramatically, and it's just going to stack everybody through, and it's only going to slow them down. So Slides, via avoiding all of that on the inside lane, he's not getting the momentum off the corner that he would want, of course, but he's avoiding all of the potential chaos that he could be involved in. And obviously, at the end of that third, he got involved in some of the drama, and even then some in this feature race, has some front-end damage as he continues to go at it with Dylan Cribbs, although Cribbs has not let up on the very top.
It does kind of even out in a sense, too. While the driver on the bottom, he gets in and he can pull nearly a full car length ahead in the middle of the corner, but then it's about coming off. There you see Dylan Cribbs trying to come off and get there faster, but it's just a gradual increase on the bottom. When you take the shorter line around the racetrack, eventually it's going to pay off for you. The momentum may not be on your side, but eventually, if you keep working at it, stay consistent on the bottom, you're going to get that spot away. As you see right there, Dale Slides to the 6th position comfortably now, as Ryan Zabo in the 5th position bounced off the wall. Slides going to try to reel him in, try to get a top 5 right now.
A textbook move there by Slides to move into P6, and Cribbs tried to follow Slides down there, but it opened the door for the 053 Dominic Howe, and he didn't have a great heat to start. He was all the way at the rear, and ever since starting pretty deep in this field, Howe has moved up to 7th in the opening 23 laps of this 75-lap feature, so don't look now. Dominic Howe may be on the route to the front as you ride on board with the 053, trying to catch up to the 762.
A lot of work to do, but of course trying to get to the front, a lot of work to do, but Dale Slides is right in front of him in that 762, going to try to make a move on him and get into the top 6. And Bo back into the top 5. But how about Jamie Massey? Dominant so far, a whole 8.5 seconds in front of the field right now, in control. He's reached the tail end of the field right now, so maybe he's comfortable sitting behind him, or maybe he wants to click off some lap cars. We'll see what he does as he negotiates around him. Ethan Harrison just went around to his outside. He keeps it straight, but Harrison almost tagged the 896 right there. He got a lucky break right there. That could have been terrible.
And you have to be very careful at these dirt tracks if you're the race leader catching up on lap traffic, because right in front of him, Brayson Collins in a battle with Henry Clapper, and they were side by side for a moment. Brayson Collins still working that inside, so with multiple lines taken up, the fastest ones here at this virtual Kokomo Speedway, Massey has to play his cards right this time on the inside of Collins, but of course, not going to be worrying too much. He's 8.5 seconds away from P2, so it's not like he has any rush to get through this traffic. Although, if they get very sketchy very soon, which they may indeed get to that point, the 896 of Massey may be on the worst end of the 6th stick. Here's a battle for 10th on back. That is Pierce Maffei leading a group in between Josh Patterson just in front, Aiden Kirker, who's fallen back to 11th, Henry Clapper, Brayson Collins, who we just talked about. They're trying to continue their remark through the top 13, top 15, and that got close there with your leader, Jamie Massey. Almost contact between the 5 and the 896, but Massey clears ahead.
Massey continuing to click off laps and lead. And Kenneth, just real quick, something I find interesting is that the fall off in speed of this racetrack, at least for Jamie Massey in the 896, hasn't been too bad, because his qualifying lap was a 15.3, and he's running 15.6s right now. So, I mean, 30 laps and 3 heats later, the track's slicking up, but the speed has not fallen off much, and that's kind of a product of what you see in these dirt street stocks. The speed doesn't fall off incredibly, and the track, it's worn out, but he's still running fast laps. That just shows you how good he is there as the battle continues for, that's the top 5 back there.
And that's good news if you're the leader, Jamie Massey, because if you want anything out of this race, it's just consistency, and you want that tire fall off to sort of plateau. You don't want it to get any worse, where you constantly have to adapt. You just want to be in a place where you're comfortable running laps as you are, and Jamie Massey seems to be very comfortable in his 896 car. But our first caution will wave. It is Henry Clappert, Pierce Maffitt involved in an accident out of turn number 2, and the caution waves just before our halfway mark of the feature.
Get a look here at what happened here to bring out our first caution flag of tonight's featured event. Jamie Massey extended to a 9-second lead by the time of the caution. See what happened to Pierce Maffitt and Henry Clappert. They were a lap down back there. Trying to get a look here. They were a little bit further back, not quite running too fast. They were a lap down. Let's see what happens.
So we'll look on the outside for Maffitt. Unfortunately, I think right about there they're going to make contact. This is going into 3 and 4, I believe, and right there, the 3 and 4, or the 34 rather, the 41 get together. It was just a simple spin by Clappert, and Maffitt really had nowhere to go on that end. So they basically just stopped on the outside wall, and nothing really they could do. And with the fact that the 34 basically came to a full halt on the racetrack, that of course is more than enough to trigger our first caution. But just like that, we're back, settled, double file for another restart here, or the first restart rather of our feature race, lap 37 of 75, and it will be Jamie Massey on the front row leading us to green, and a sluggish start by Massey there. Not sure exactly what happened, but Jay Mulder surges forward by a large gap to the race lead.
It's almost like he missed a gear or something on the restart, because he did not get going at all, as Massey's going to try and recover here. Jay Mulder leading his first laps of the event, as Paul Granata to the outside of Massey give him the second position. But talk about the plot thickening. It's shaking up now with a new race leader in Jay Mulder. After Massey was more than 9 seconds ahead, one caution can change everything.
And it is not going to help Massey in the case that he's got Dale Slides, Ryan Zaveau, and even more drivers trying to take position away. Massey clears ahead for third, but of course more work to do. This is the first time really, Keelan, that we see this 896 in traffic, not in P1. So what can he do now on the change-up game to get around the 04 and the 51 for the race lead? This time he's going to switch around to the inside, trying to get the best of Granada off the corner. Dale Slides and Josh Patterson are going to be the two to follow him down there. We approach the final 35 laps of race number 2. Jay Mulder ahead out front.
We talked about how dominant the top was early in tonight's feature, but if there was a couple guys checking the bottom, Massey was doing it better than everybody. And even in his heat race, he was out there testing the waters on the bottom, possibly for a situation like this. He knows that's how he's probably going to have to get a pass here, as he's not really going to be able to just shove Granada out of the way and get to the outside of him. He continues to go to the bottom as Granada's off the fence. Give Massey the second position. What a move right there. Got a little bit lucky with Granada bouncing off the fence, but Massey takes the second spot away, and now all eyes are forward to the 51 machine of Jay Mulder as Dale Slides getting to the bottom there, trying to get into the podium position himself.
And with how hard it is to pass, as we've seen here from the virtual Kokomo Speedway, you kind of have to do that. Be a little aggressive, and if you slide up half some space, you can easily shut the door on the driver behind you, and they have no other choice but to either cross over or take advantage away from you and try to do something to stay behind you right now. Battle for third right now. Dominic Howes moved into the podium, so Dominic Howe only continues his route to the front, but Mulder had a problem there in the last couple laps, and that gives the lead right back to Jamie Massey, who will look to clear away Dominic Howe. Dale Slides, Jay Mulder, a three-way battle for second.
Ooh, and 3 wide there for a second, but they do keep it going as Mulder lost the lead to a great move by Jamie Massey, who went about a line lower than the wall, made the pass. There's a slower car up there, lap traffic. That is
Paul Granata.
Paul Granata. He had speed all night long, so trouble with the 04. Looks like that car is tore up. So Jamie Massey continues to quick off laps in the lead. Dominic Cow trying to work on the 51 of Jay Mulder. Dominic Cow, how about that drive? Started in the 14th position, now up in the top 3, having a nice run himself.
And he has one of the cleanest cars in this entire field, Keelan, right now in that 053, despite the fact that he has an all-white base paint scheme. Usually you'd see that car all dirtied up by now, but the 053 remaining as clean as he can be. He's going to try to put more pressure here on Jay Mulder. They're all working the high side, second, third, and fourth, and even further, some sixth, fifth on back. Josh Patterson occupying that final spot in the top 5, trying to hold off Ryan Zabo. And with that update there on Paul Granada, looked like suspension damage on the 04 machine. So unfortunate to see Paul Granada out of the race on pit road. There he is, 4 laps down. He joins Henry Clappert as the 2 cars on pit road trying to get some damage fixed. This time, 25 laps to go from the virtual Kokomo Speedway, and it is all Jamie Massey up at the front by 2.3 seconds.
Jay Mulder in the second position, trying to defend from Dominic Howe, who sticks it to his outside. And what a move by Dominic Howe. When there's no room up top, he makes room. And now bumping and banging with the 51 machine, Dominic Howe gonna get around him, second position. He's now gonna try to make a move on the 896 of Jamie Massey.
And again, the point I made about being aggressive and trying to find gaps and shutting the door when you need to, Dominic Howe absolutely found his nose and dug it in as much as he could. And Dominic Howe, the biggest mover all night long, moving to second now, a 3-way battle for third. Dale Slides trying to protect his position against Jay Mulder. And how about Josh Patterson rocking the bottom, getting ahead of the 51?
The 02, where did he come from? He's been in the back. He kept himself on the lead lap, though, when Massey was coming through and lapping people. And now he's up in the 4th position, doing well when this track has worn in. Now up in a top 5 position, a lot like the path of Dominic Howe this evening in the 053. These guys, both those 2 drivers in the 053 and 02, have been flying tonight.
And they've been some of the cleaner cars. They've been able to get away from the mayhem, and Jay Mulder continues his descent, this time in a battle against Ryan Zabo. That is for the last spot in the top 5, and even further some behind them. Aiden Kirker is trying to make some ground up. We saw the 39 go through somewhat of a fall off there in the middle portion of this race. He is trying to pick up at least as much as he can after starting in 5th right now, as he right on board with the white and black number 39, a tag to the outside wall, and there's the gap between himself and the rear end of Ryan Zabo. A better exit there out of turn 2 in this curved back straightaway from virtual Kokomo Speedway. And now the field have seemingly thinned out. I don't think, Keelan, we expected to see the field thin out as much as we did in this next run after the first caution, but they are all in their own leagues right now.
Yeah, with less cars, the field is definitely thinning out for sure and spreading out on the racetrack, as Jay Mulder falling from 2nd to 5th in this run, and now he's going to fall to 6th. I'm a little bit curious on this Jay Mulder, Paul Granada, 2 guys who were in the top 3, and then they seemingly fell back out of nowhere. We talked about earlier how if you use that wall up too much, you could damage your race car. So maybe you see, there you go, Mulder bouncing off the wall again. I wonder if those 2 race cars could have maybe damaged, and that's how Paul Granada damaged his suspension, because both of those cars, we've seen them abusing the wall a lot. Looks like right now Mulder's fine, but he was slipping back. So we'll see. That could be a development with more race cars.
That may be the case, but also I feel like it's a game of mistakes right now. As soon as you make a mistake deep in traffic, you're going to have the guys take advantage of that as much as possible, and they're going to go to the inside, through the middle, to the outside. They're going to force their way through you, because usually on the asphalt, we usually have the brakes that they're relatively effective, and you won't really slide through another driver or run them over unless you make a big mistake on that end. But here at dirt, you're going to be sliding if you stomp on the brakes 100% full stop. That car is not going to grip up on this dirt surface and immediately come to a halt. It's going to take a while before it ends up stopping on the racetrack, and it take you way longer than it would on any other type of track surface. So as soon as a driver like Jay Mulder or Paul Granada, or really anybody deep in traffic, makes a mistake, hits the outside wall, gets into another driver, the slowdown there makes it worse on the abuse end, because then they get used up by everybody around them, just because the other guys really don't have many places to go to get around. Josh Patterson, speaking of which, he's getting around Dale Slides for 3rd and continuing to pioneer that inside lane. But Dale Slides continuing to put a patronizing move up top to keep himself in that 3rd spot.
These guys get to the top of him, gonna try a freight train here around the 02, but he's holding his ground well there on the bottom of the racetrack. As Dale Slides gonna go around off the bumper of Jay Mulder, the 10 of Ryan Zabo around. Aiden Kirker with him too, but no yellow. They keep it green, and that could have changed the whole complexion of the race right there. There's the caution. It's out now for something else on the racetrack. 2nd caution of this feature event, as the 04 of Paul Granada, who got his repairs done back out on the racetrack 18 laps down, is spun around.
So take a look at the cause of caution first before we get to that little scuffle there between Dale Slides and company. Here's Paul Granada. And just a simple spin. Brayson Collins, a fantastic job to get away. I talk about the brakes, but they are still relatively effective a little bit. And Brayson Collins getting around the 04, escaping without any sort of damage. But we'll take a look and see exactly what happened to the 762 Dale Slides. Him in a battle there with the 02 of Josh Patterson with Jay Mulder. And right there, got a little bit sideways. Mulder tried to stop and got into him. And then it stacks up even further behind with the likes of Ryan Zabot getting turned around by Aiden Kirker.
Top lane is slicking up, and it's causing these guys to make mistakes like Dale Slides and Paul Granada. We see them kind of spin their rear tires up, trying to get as much speed as they can off the corner. And in the dirt street stock, a heavier race car, you don't really expect too much to happen from that. But these guys spinning those rear tires up in the slick, that's going to spin your car around. It's something you see a lot in a lighter car, like a sprint car in the slick. And here in a dirt street stock, the comparisons are there and the similarities are there, as you still loop your car around pretty easy, and these guys are learning it tonight.
Well, now the field will stack up, and this will give another opportunity for the field to try and catch up to Jamie Massey. But Massey with a solid start with 5 laps to go from the virtual Kokomo Speedway. Slides moves up in a second. Howe trying to fend off for third, but the caution flag waves once again. And I'm not sure exactly who might have been involved in this one, but the admins have thrown another yellow on the track, and we will have another restart for the finish.
Yeah, it looked like on that restart, we didn't get too far before our car spun around. I don't even think they got past the start-finish line before a car was already looped around here as we try to get a look here at this restart. Watching Henry Clappert in the 34 there. Don't know if he was involved. Look here, though.
Didn't look to the case. Maybe a restart gone wrong, so it doesn't look like there's any problem. I think here we'll get the restart. So right about here is where Jamie Massey hops on the gun. And I think maybe right there, Aiden Kirker goes around by his lonesome in the middle of the racetrack. And I think him being sideways enough, also with getting into the 5 of Brayson Collins, was enough to set the yellow out.
And the caution does come out now with 3 laps to go already coming down to it. And if there's a green-white checkered, now would be the time for it to happen. There's 2 attempts at a green-white checkered this evening, so this is going to be our first one, restarting on lap 75. Going to be 2 laps to try it. If we make the white flag, the next flag ends the race, as Jamie Massey going to lead us to the green here. Our first of 2 green-white checkers is green.
And because we had a caution within 5 laps of the restart, we are single file, and that only helps the most dominant driver of the race so far. Jamie Massey, the 896, goes into the first corners with comfortability. Dale Slides and company trying to chase down Ryan Zabot versus Josh Patterson for 4th as Massey is closing in on the white flag.
They battle all throughout the field as Jamie Massey in control. He dominated last week, and he's been in control all night long. And off of the final corner at Kokomo Speedway, Jamie Massey make it back-to-back. He wins in the Dirt Street Stock Tour presented by Dynamo Designs.
A beautiful display of driving by Jamie Massey, who gets his 2nd win of the season and gets the first 2 wins in a row after getting his first at the Volusia Speedway Park. Dale Slides, got to give props to the 762 for all that he went through tonight. He comes home in 2nd. And Dominic Howe, the biggest mover of the race by far out of anyone in the field, he ends up wrapping up the top 3. Josh Patterson was the other driver in contention for the hardest charger. He ends up just 1 spot behind in P4. There is Jamie Massey. There is the 762 of Dale Slides. And I believe here, Keelan, they're just trying to go nose to tail. In fact, they are. There they are. A little bit of contact there, but it doesn't matter. They're all in victory lane, sharing the 3 spots together.
They got the whole podium up there. Props to them as Jamie Massey. How about that performance tonight, leading almost every lap? That one restart, he lost a couple laps to Jay Mulder, but 896 gets back out in front, and he takes the win tonight at Kokomo Speedway. Dale Slides with a nice 2nd place finish. He was charging on the bottom all night long. He gets up there, finishes in 2nd. Dominic Howe charging from 14th to 3rd. What an effort for the 053 tonight. Josh Patterson in the 4th position in the 02. Great run for him. Dylan Cribbs gets a 5th place position, rounding out the top 5. Jay Mulder, who ran up there in the top 2 for a long portion of the night, finishes in 6th. Aiden Kirker finishing just a couple spots back from where he started in 7th. Brayson Collins, he had another good effort, crawling from 17th all the way up to the 8th position. Ryan Martin in 9th, and Ryan Zabo finishing where he started, rounding out the top 10.
And here we'll look at the final drivers in this feature. Ethan Harrison struggled a little bit in the mid portion of the race, and the 77 comes home 2 laps down in 11th. Cameron McCone did not have a standout night in the 028. He's also 2 laps down, 1 spot behind Harrison in P12. Then we'll get to the drivers 3 laps down or worse. Seth Castle, we saw him do great in the majority of this feature, but unfortunately had some problems later on. Finishes 13th. Pierce Maffett comes home 14th. He was involved in one of our first cautions of the evening. He ends up 15 laps down. Paul Granada, he was running strong within the top 5 and then got into that incident, had some suspension damage under green. The yellow did not come out as a result, and he ends up rounding out the top 15, 18 laps down. And the final drivers who unfortunately were not able to finish this race, along with the ones we've already listed: Henry Clapper, 29 laps down in 16th, Logan Hartman in the 70, 17th, JJ Hill, who was removed from the server in one of the heat races, 18th, and Christian Visconti also did not start this race through the heats and the feature. He ends up 19th as the final one listed on the results sheet here tonight from the virtual Kokomo Speedway. So a lot to uncover here after the second race of the WORC Dirt Street Stock Tour presented by Dynamo Designs. But don't go anywhere. Our KBRN post-race coverage up for you next. We'll take a short moment and step away, but you won't miss a thing. You're watching round number 2 of the WORC Dirt Street Stock Tour presented by Dynamo Designs right here on the KBueno Racing Network.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12-Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to the virtual Kokomo Speedway, where we kick off our KBRN post coverage here tonight of the second race in the WORC Dirt Street Stock Tour presented by Dynamo Designs. And of course, Dynamo Designs is your one-stop shop for all of your iRacing design needs. They can cater to any style you like and can ensure you will look good on track, all starting at just $5 per scheme. You can message Josh Patterson on Discord at Josh Patterson #9212 or on Facebook at JP Designs to get your iRacing scheme today. Of course, a lot of appreciation for Dynamo Designs, their support of the WORC series, but it is our time to head down trackside and take a moment to talk with your winner by a dominant margin. Jamie Massey leads practically every single lap to his second straight victory here in this 2022 season. Jamie, of course, first race, first show at Evolution, you dominated that one, and then you just back it up and do it all over again. First of all, walk us through your feelings after winning tonight back-to-back and how you were able to just put a clinic on the field from Kokomo.
I've always been pretty solid here at Kokomo, and I'm a street style driver, so pretty decent in these cars. Sometimes it's just better to be lucky than good, though. I got a couple of them lap cars scared me. I thought they were going they were getting together up there, and I had a spotter up in the tower from my team, and he was kind of telling me what was going on, and luckily missed some of them wrecks. So sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
And of course, lap traffic, one of the biggest parts of this race in that opening long run, and then the yellow started coming out. So I got to ask you, how did you try and balance getting around lap traffic and staying clean while also holding on to your lead? Of course, you had an 8.5 second lead by the time you reached lap traffic, so it wasn't like a simple little mistake was going to fall you back to the rest of the field. But at the same time, you also had to play the patient game, not getting into those other guys and not really trying to fend in their messes. So how were you able to balance being quick and still putting on a solid gap between you and second while also weaving through lap traffic and managing the yellows that came out in the last half of the race?
Yeah, man, my spotter, Charles, was kind of telling me where they were at and what they were doing, and how far of a lead I had, and I was just concentrating on hitting my marks there on the bottom, and I wasn't really having to search around like everybody else was. I was just running the same thing and being consistent, just trying to be anyways, and that one restart, though, I don't know what the heck that was. I mean, it wasn't nothing, nobody's fault, but it just sucked because I fell back to third there, and then I was pissed for about 3 laps and had to get myself back together and hit my marks and get back to the lead. But it was fun.
So you got back to the lead, and of course you put on the lap leading performance that only you could do so far in the first 2 races of this WORC Dirt Street Stock Tour presented by Dynamo Deisgns. Now we move forward. Of course, you have the first 2 races in your bag. Are we going to see the same type of dominant performance at Port Royal and for the rest of the season for the title?
Oh, man, we'll see how things play out. I mean, I'll be good. I know that. I mean, I'm good in these little street stocks. I'll be hard to beat anywhere we go. So, I just thank God for allowing me to be here and race with you guys, and thank my teammates over there. And I want to give a shout out to Dylan and Dale. I'm proud of Dale, man. He ran second there. It's awesome. He won't run leagues with me very often, and I got him to run with me today. So very proud of them guys. And Dylan, he didn't even have the track there, so he had to buy the track. This is his first laps ever on this place, and this place is a driver's track. So you really got to be on your toes to be fast here. So I'm proud of my guys, man. So I want to thank my team over at TNL. I want to thank KC Speedworks, Elite Performance Industries, you guys for broadcasting, man. I'm sitting here watching it the whole race, and y'all are doing a hell of a job. Y'all going to go a long way in this, so keep at it. And World Racing, man, they're doing good things here. I try to get them some more cars next week. We'll see y'all next week, hopefully.
Well, we certainly appreciate the kind words, Jamie. It certainly means a lot to us over at the KBueno Racing Network. And of course, as they say, dream work makes the team work. And I think your team did a very good job of putting themselves in position at the end of this one. And you get your 2nd straight win here in this 2022 season. Of course, Jamie, on behalf of all of us here in the broadcast booth, I want to thank you so much for taking some time with us to talk. And of course, a warm congratulations on your 2nd straight win. We'll see you at Port Royal in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, sir.
So that is Jamie Massey, your race winner, and arguably the most dominant driver all night long. The 896 getting his 2nd straight win of the season. He mentioned a certain driver apart from Dylan Cribbs, and Keelan, that is the 762 of Dale Slides, who comes home 2nd. You're caught up with him.
Hey, Dale, it's Keelan. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Well, that was a great show. I mean, I looked up there, and every time I looked up, there was one guy always ripping the bottom of the racetrack and making up some time, doing a good job, and that was you. So take us through your race, and how were you working the bottom when other people couldn't? It's like you were more comfortable down there, making up time in the middle of the corner. You were letting people take the momentum because eventually, little by little, every lap, you were making up time, and you eventually took positions away from people. So take us through your race and take us through how the track felt.
Well, can't drive through them, so had to go to the bottom, do what I could. It was good for the majority of the race, but it kind of went away there towards the end. And I mean, I really slowed down towards the end overall anyways and kind of struggled, but got lucky, was in the right place at the right time, and, took 2nd.
Great race. You took 2nd in your heat, started in 6th position, and then got up there to 2nd. Was there anything you could have done different to get up there to the 896 of Jamie Massey? I know he was in a whole different zip code, it felt like all night, but you think another restart, you were up there with him, or what could you have done?
Nah, man, I was struggling. Jamie's my teammate, and he's, a big reason that I'm even relevant in a lot of these things. I don't run a lot of leagues, but yeah, I didn't have nothing for him. I'm not going to pretend like I did. Was just kind of holding on for dear life those last 10 or so laps.
Yeah, well, it definitely seems like a great night for your team taking home a 1-2 finish.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great drive for you two, and a little quarter-mile track like Kokomo. It's one of those tougher ones, so great run for y'all, and hopefully.
Well, I believe we may have lost
Yes, sir.
Keelan. Keelan, you got a copy? Oh, I think maybe some internet issues here for Keelan. But Dale, of course, a beautiful performance running the bottom and contending against some of the heavy hitters tonight from Kokomo. And now moving into Port Royal and the rest of the regular season going into the title race. What are your expectations for those tracks and how you feel you're going to do there?
I'll probably do better anywhere but here. Kokomo's, I really struggle here. So hopefully, hopefully we do better than we did now, and I mean, hopefully pull a win somewhere in the future.
Of course, a good performance tonight here in P2, and no doubt we'll probably see you do great things moving into the rest of the season. Of course, Dale, before we let you go, is there anybody you want to thank for making tonight's performance possible?
Yeah. Obviously, everybody at TNL, Carl at KC Speedworks, and you guys for putting it on. I appreciate it.
Well, Dale, of course, on behalf of our team here at the KBueno Racing Network, want to thank you for taking some time to talk with us in the broadcast booth. And, of course, congratulations on the P2 tonight from Kokomo. We'll see you at Port Royal.
Thank you, buddy. See ya.
So Dale Slides finishes in P2. Keelan, I'm not sure if you're back, but do you have a copy?
I'm good.
All right, there we go. We can get some post-race thoughts. A little technical difficulty here for P2 in the interview, but Dale Slides coming home in P2 after starting P6. But there's a different story to tell with the driver who comes home in P3 on the podium, Dominic Howe, making the largest charge to the front, 14th on the starting grid, 3rd at the end of this 75-lap feature. Dominic, how did you do it?
Kenneth, I don't know how I did this. That was kind of amazing. I didn't even really plan on doing this race, and I don't know. The longer the race went on, the more people I passed, and I was probably gonna finish second till we got that final caution. But I'm amazed that I did that. I don't do dirt racing a whole lot, but I don't know. Pulling a P3 out of nowhere is pretty fantastic for me, especially when first two guys kind of just do this dirt stuff all day.
A great finish overall on P3. And talking to Racing Collins, he sent us a message from the broadcast booth before we started saying that around the mid-pack is where things get very racy and very bumpy. It gets very dirty, and we see a lot of guys moving inside, outside, through the middle, 3 wide, 4 wide, and you at one point were stuck in that group in the mid-pack. First of all, how were you able to get through that with a clean race car? And number 2, how were you trying to test the patience to make sure that when you made a move, it was the right one to get by the competition?
So I didn't need to make sure I had a clean race car. I just needed to make sure I didn't tear the right front off the car. And you could just throw it in the corner really hard and smack the right rear off the wall, and the car would be fine. And you weren't really gaining anything except just going as far away from the other cars as possible. So I don't know. The front ends of these cars are really strong. So if someone was just in the way, you could move them out of the way, or you could just force a lane higher than them. And they're street stocks. They're meant to bump people out of the way. So when I was in the chaos, I bumped people out of the way until I wasn't in the chaos anymore. And obviously, the higher you get up in the field, the better people are driving. So it was a little bit cleaner once I got into the top 5. But fighting through the field, you just had to use a little bit of muscle.
Sometimes I forget these street stocks are a little bit tanky, but forgive me on that. But nonetheless, of course, a 3rd place finish in the second race of the season. My last question here, 2 parts. First of all, are we expecting to see you for any part of the rest of the season? And number 2, if you are going to run for the rest of the season, are there any tracks that stand out to you? Port Royal, I-55, Bristol, Charlotte? Anything that stand out to you on that front?
I don't own Port Royal or I-55, so I may buy them and come in, seeing how I'm doing so well in this series right now. But I'll definitely be here for Charlotte and the last race.
All right, sounds good. 3rd place finish tonight, and of course, we'll let you get out of here. But before we do that, anybody you want to thank for making tonight's P3 happen?
No, I just want to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast, and Brayson for running the league as well as he does. No sponsors, no teams, just me doing my thing.
Well, we certainly appreciate the time, Dominic. On behalf of our team here in the broadcast booth, want to send you a congratulations on the 3rd place finish here from the virtual Kokomo Speedway, and hopefully we get to see you sooner than later in this series.
All right, thanks, Kenneth.
So Dominic Howe ends up P3 in the largest move up through the field, 11 spots total on the night, 14th to 3rd in that 75-lap feature. But Keelan, of course, wrapping up a race from the virtual Kokomo Speedway, and wow, Jamie Massey backed it up big time. First race, Volusia Speedway Park, dominated that race. And Keelan, you and I probably were thinking before this race, maybe here in Kokomo things would be a little more even. These guys would probably battle for the race lead more often, but Jamie Massey just proving how good he is at this dirt scene on the iRacing service, and just proving it once again with a dominating clinic performance from Kokomo and 2 straight wins on the year. That's going to help him a lot going for the championship in 2022.
I looked back on the race results last week at Volusia, and it said he led 47 laps. So I was like, oh, well, that's a good performance. We'll see if he can back it up. And then coming into Kokomo, I look at qualifying. He's up there by 0.3 of a second over the next guy. So it's just you knew it probably wasn't going to be pretty after that. And then look up there, lap 20 of the feature. He's up there by 8 seconds. So just a great driver from what we see so far. So a great performance by Massey tonight, and hopefully he keeps showing up, because he's got a championship run going for him right now. Already a third of the way through the season. He's probably got the maximum amount of points you can get. So Jamie Massey, all the momentum on his side after the first 2 races.
It's a masterclass effort of the first 2 races, and we'll see if he can continue to follow that trend at Port Royal. And of course, knowing how good he is on dirt already with these dirt street stock cars, it may be a threat to the rest of the field to try and dethrone him at least once before this season is over in 2022. But what a race here tonight from the virtual Kokomo Speedway. Of course, want to thank everybody for taking their time out of their Thursday night to join us here on the KBueno Racing Network. And we will not be here for race number 3, WOES, their broadcasting service on YouTube. You can subscribe to them over there. They will have coverage of race number 3 and race number 5. We'll be back for round number 4 at I-55. That coverage begins at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, around 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the KBueno Racing Network before we conclude the season and the championship right here on the KBueno Racing Network as well. Round number 6 will be at the Charlotte Dirt Track, of course, same time, same place, 7 p.m. Eastern here on KBRN. So for everybody that makes it all happen here at WORC, for Brayson Collins, all of the admin team, everybody that makes this race happen, for all the drivers tonight, and for Jamie Massey on his 2nd straight win in this 2022 season, and on behalf of all of us at the KBueno Racing Network, for Francisco Bacalao, for Charlie Beyer, and for my colleague in the booth tonight, Keelan Belsha, my name is Kenneth Bueno. Saying so long from Kokomo, Indiana. We'll see you at I-55 in a couple of weeks' time. But remember, 1 week from tonight, we've got Port Royal as the season continues, and Jamie Massey tonight gets his 2nd win of the year.